Hello, good evening, everyone. Today we will take another question, and this is from Indian Economics Services 2013 paper. Let's have a look at the question. Show that Cobb-Douglas production function exhibits constant returns to scale but diminishing returns to factor of production. एक बारी समझ लो क्वेश्चन क्या कह रहा है. कह रहा है ये दिखाना है कि आपका जो गिवन Cobb-Douglas प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन है जो इन दिस केस ये है, इस Cobb-Douglas प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन का कांस्टेंट रिटर्न्स टू स्केल होता है. रिटर्न्स टू स्केल क्या होता है? जब आप लेबर और कैपिटल को स्केल करते हो तो आउटपुट किस लेवल से स्केल होता है उसको रिटर्न्स टू स्केल बोलते हैं. व्हेन यू स्केल लेबर एंड कैपिटल by same amount, the amount by which output scales, that is called returns to scale. So the aim of the question is to check that if I double my labor and double my capital, by what amount will output change. अगर output और labor दोनों को ही आप double करते हो तो labor और capital दोनों को ही double करते हो तो output किस लेवल से चेंज होगा, ये इस क्वेश्चन में पूछा गया. डिमिनिशिंग रिटर्न्स टू फैक्टर ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. तो जब हम रिटर्न्स टू फैक्टर निकालते हैं, जब हम ये निकालते हैं कि आउटपुट के चेंज होने पे कि लेबर के चेंज होने पे आउटपुट कैसे चेंज होगा, कैपिटल के चेंज होने पे आउटपुट कैसे चेंज होगा, वो डिमिनिशिंग होना चाहिए. ठीक है, लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट द आंसर. So first of all, we will go ahead and in any question where they ask you to prove something, you should define it. कभी भी जब आपसे वो proof मांगे तो पहले उसकी definition दो. In this case, I need to define what is my returns to scale. So I've gone ahead and written that a production function exhibits constant returns to scale if scaling the input scales the output by same amount. तो जब मैं इनपुट को स्केल करती हूं, व्हेन आई स्केल द इनपुट, व्हेन आई डबल लेबर एंड कैपिटल और ट्रिपल लेबर एंड कैपिटल, व्हेन आई स्केल लेबर एंड कैपिटल, व्हाट इज द अमाउंट बाय व्हिच आउटपुट स्केल्स. किस अमाउंट से मेरा आउटपुट बढ़ेगा जब लेबर और कैपिटल को स्केल करेंगे, दैट इज व्हाट वी आर आस्किंग. एंड इफ इट स्केल्स बाय द सेम अमाउंट, अगर आउटपुट उतने से ही बढ़े जितने से लेबर और कैपिटल को बढ़ाया था, then it is called constant returns to scale. So a production function exhibits constant returns to scale if scaling the input scale the output by same proportion. So this is your production function. Now what we have done is we have multiplied L and K by lambda. L को हमने replace किया है lambda L से और k को हमने replace किया है lambda k से. So we have replaced both labor and capital by lambda, and this is where now I have lambda L and lambda k. I have written, because I've scaled labor and capital, the new output can be called as Q dash. Okay. Now what you can do is you can just open this up. So you will get A into lambda to the power alpha, L to the power alpha, lambda to the power 1 minus alpha, K to the power 1 minus alpha. Now what can I do? Because I am getting lambda here, यहाँ पे भी lambda है, and I am getting lambda here. When lambda is same, when base is same, power can get added. So आप power को एक बारी add कर लो, क्या मिलेगा? You will get lambda. So when base is same, power gets added. So I will just get lambda here into what will I get? I will get A, L to the power alpha, K to the power 1 minus alpha. But this part, this A, L to the power alpha, K to the power 1 minus alpha, this part is my original output. है कि नहीं? यही तो original output था. Right? So this part is nothing but my original level of output. So basically we have proved that new output is lambda times original output. So we scaled labor and capital by lambda. हमने labor और capital को lambda से multiply किया. and we saw that output also got scaled by lambda. Output bhi lambda se hi multiply ho gaya. Therefore, we can say that it is a constant returns to scale. So what we have proved? We have proved that it is a constant returns to scale production function. Now let's come to the second part. दूसरा part क्या बोल रहा है? You need to prove that it has diminishing returns to factor of production. So in order to prove diminishing returns, what will we do? We have to find first of all what is their marginal product. Labor और capital का marginal product क्या है? How do we find marginal product? You differentiate output with respect to labor, you get marginal product of labor. Differentiate output with respect to capital, you get marginal product of capital. तो जब मैंने output को labor से differentiate किया, then power comes down and power is reduced by 1. This is what you will get. So this will become your marginal product of labor. अब diminishing proof करने के लिए आपको ये proof करना है कि marginal product of labor जब labor change हो तो negative होना चाहिए. As you increase labor, the marginal product of labor should be falling. This is what I want to prove. So in order to prove this, I should differentiate MPL again with respect to L. Marginal product को दोबारा labor से differentiate करेंगे. जो differentiate करने के बाद आंसर आएगा, अगर वो negative है, then it is diminishing returns to factor. So when I differentiate this again with respect to L, then what will happen? Power will come down and power will reduce by 1 again. So this is the final answer that I will get. Now just think about this. See, A is positive. Alpha is positive. Labor is positive. कोई भी चीज जो positive हो, उसको कुछ भी power दे दो, वो positive ही होगा. So positive to the power anything is positive. So this is positive. This is positive. The only thing that is negative is this factor, because alpha is between 0 and 1. So agar alpha suppose 0.5 hai, 0.5 minus 1 minus 0.5 hoga. So if alpha is negative, then alpha is between 0 and 1, then alpha minus 1 will be negative. So alpha minus 1 negative हो गया. अगर अल्फा माइनस 1 नेगेटिव है, ये वाला पार्ट नेगेटिव हो गया, तो ये पूरा चीज लेस देन 0 हो गया. सो वी हैव प्रूव्ड दैट वी हैव डिमिनिशिंग रिटर्न्स टू लेबर. बट इन द क्वेश्चन दे हैव आस्क्ड अबाउट बोथ फैक्टर्स, राइट? सो नाउ आई वांट टू प्रूव द सेम थिंग फॉर कैपिटल आल्सो. सो हाउ विल यू डू दिस? दिस इज योर आउटपुट. ये आपका आउटपुट दिया हुआ है. इससे पहले मार्जिनल प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कैपिटल निकालो. फाइंड आउट मार्जिनल प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कैपिटल. What is that? How output changes as capital changes. क्या होता है marginal product of capital? कि output के change कि capital के change होने पर output कितने से बदलेगा. This is what we do. We differentiate this. So what will happen? We see that power will come down and power will reduce by 1. So this is what I will get. This is marginal product of capital. Now to check diminishing return, we must differentiate this again with respect to capital. फिर से इसको differentiate कर दो K से. So when you will differentiate this with respect to capital, the power will come down and power will reduce by 1. So you will get this as the answer. अब देखो, A is positive, this is positive, alpha is between 0 and 1, तो 1 minus alpha positive हो जाएगा. This is K is positive. So positive to the power anything is positive. Alpha is positive. But in सब में ये एक negative sign भी तो आ रहा है. It's minus alpha. एक minus sign आ रहा है. So ये minus को अगर मैं बाहर कर दूं, ये पूरा term positive है. But क्योंकि उसको हमने minus से multiply किया, we multiplied the positive side with a negative sign, it becomes less than 0. So it is also diminishing returns to capital. So what we have proved that it has constant returns to scale, but diminishing returns to factor. This is the answer to this question. Okay, thank you. We will meet again in the next class.